Alright, so we're going to look at the setup of the player boards at the start of the game. So down here I have all my components. I've got my 6 free people dice. Note that you could use regular dice for these, and there's a little table that shows you how to convert from numbers to the symbols. I've got my 4 companion figures. You can use anything you want for those. And then I've got my same for the shadow. And then I've got some little tokens here to use for reroll tokens. So we'll just set it up according to what's printed on the sheets. So the free people are going to start with 4 dice in their stronghold and 1 companion. And then we'll set the military token on the star. And the rest of these go in the supply. And then the shadow is going to start with 8 dice and 4 minions. And its military will start on the star. And the threat will start on the star. And the rest of these go in the supply. And the reroll tokens also off to the side. Okay, now that we've set up the player boards, we're ready to start on the first act. So first I'm going to set my rules reference sheet out with the hunt box. Normally I just set this underneath the shadow player. I'm going to tuck this under here so it's visible. And then we have our Act 1 board over here. Let's see if we can get that. Okay, so to start with, we will add a companion on the first path here. And that's in addition to the one that we start with up there. Okay, so on my turn, I roll all my dice at once. And then I'm going to look at them and decide what to do with them. So I consult my reference up here. I have 3 swords. Each one of those can be used to advance one of my companions forward. And we have to remember to roll for the hunt if it's the main path. And then I have 1 muster die here, so I can use that to gain military. So I'll do that first. I'll spend that, and I get 1 military per companion that's in my stronghold. So right now I have 1 up there, so I gain 1 military. Okay, now I have 3 of these, so I will use those to advance my main companion there. Alternatively, I could gain a military with those, but I think I'm just going to make progress on the main board. So I'll spend 1 to move forward. And then after I do that, I need to roll for the hunt. So I'll take a available shadow die and roll it. If I rolled the eye, I would put it down here, but I didn't, so I'll just leave it there. Okay, now I'll do the same thing again. I'll move the companions forward so I can go to a tree space. This means I could use a tree or a palantir if I had rolled one of those. And when I meet Strider, I get to add an additional companion, and that will go, he will join the party. So that will go there. And then I need to roll for the hunt. Okay, nothing. And now I'll spend my final die there, move them forward, and roll for the hunt. Okay, we're still safe. Okay, that went pretty well for the free people. So now we'll move on to the shadow player's turn. So to take their turn, I roll their dice 1 at a time and just evaluate what happens. Alright, so the first one is the evil palantir. So I send an available minion to the lowest That means lowest physically path that doesn't already have one. So they will start there on the first space of there. Next die. Alright, so this is a muster and army, so we advance all minions on all paths. So they move forward. Same thing. Alright. The sword, is sort of special. You're always going to evaluate whatever symbol is next to the current threat level. So in this case, it's that same evil Palantir, so that means we're going to send out a new minion to the lowest path that doesn't already have one. So this already has one, so they will start there. And once more. Okay, so they're now going to chase down the companions. All right. If we roll a big eye, that just goes directly to the hunt pool. And when that fills up, bad things happen. Okay. So now we're going to advance all minions on all battle paths. So those are basically the ones that start with the swords. So these two will both move ahead. Okay. And this is the last one. Okay. Same thing. So this one moves ahead, nothing happens. This one moves to a knife in the dark, and now this is instructing us to roll 2 hunt dice. So anytime we see this symbol, we're just going to roll 2 dice that are not already in the pool, and if we had rolled eyes, we would add them. And it's worth pointing out for our mitigation as the player, on the shadow player's turn, if you had reroll tokens, you can always reroll their dice, and you may spend 2 of your military to prevent them moving. That's supposed to be a battle space. So I could have prevented this one moving ahead by spending 2 military, but I chose not to do that. So let's do one more free people's turn. So I'm going to take all my dice, roll them all at once. Okay, I have 2 swords, 1 combo, and 1 wild. So the Will of the West you can spend as anything you want, and you can spend these in any order you want. This one really is just choose which of these you want. So I could gain military, or I could use the banner to advance if I had a companion on one of these. Or I can try and fight back against the shadow and reduce their military. So in this case, I think I'll spend this to gain 1 military. I will spend my first sword to move the companions. And I need to roll a hunt die. Safe. Okay, now I will consider my next move. I could either go right or down. To go to the right, I need an actual Palantir symbol. To go down, I just need a sword. So I have this Will of the West. So I think I'll spend that as a Palantir to go meet Glorfindel. So now I gain 2 military, and I get to have a reroll token. So I'll just put that up in my stronghold. And then I have 1 final sword, so I'll use that to advance down here. When I get to the end here, I get my extra companion, and the arrow says I move on to Act 2. If a shadow minion had gotten here, they would have gained 2 threat. And when that happens, we would move their token up 2, 1 for each threat gain, for bonuses they pass on the right side. So in that case, they would have gotten an extra minion and an extra red die for Saruman. And then from that point on, anytime they roll a sword, we would evaluate both of these, meaning give them +1 military and evaluate a Palantir. So that's pretty much the basics of how you play. Since I got to the Act 2 arrow on my turn, I would immediately end the act, replace the Act 1 sheet with the Act 2 sheet, and then set up the next board. So I managed to acquire all 4 companions, and I can start as many as I want here. I have to put at least 1, but if I want, I could put 2 or 3 or all 4. The reason I would choose one or the other is because my muster dice give me 1 military per companion. That's up here. So that lets me gain more military. But these down here, I can sacrifice them, meaning send them back home, if I get caught by a shadow minion to avoid threat gain. So it's good to have them on the track with you, and also the Balrog potentially makes you lose 1. So then I would immediately go to the shadow player's turn because I had finished my turn. So you just continue wherever you left off.